What's up? Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Anthony, good morning. Ray, good morning. Adam, Brad, Chi, Blair, good morning, guys. Welcome in. Welcome in, everybody on Instagram. Recommend following the link in my story on YouTube. I'm sharing my screens there, and I'll stay on the stream longer. So if you're joining in on Instagram, I recommend jumping over onto the YouTube live stream. Good morning, Sachin. Jeff, good morning. Ishan, welcome in. It was a good weekend. We were supposed to have a lot of rain here in Orlando and didn't really get that much. What's up? What's up? Jasmine, good morning. Dogfish, good morning. Welcome in. Get into the analysis here in a minute. It's a little bit of an interesting day. Monday on a day where we had an extremely large rally yesterday. So we had an extremely large rally yesterday, Friday, after the Jackson Hole Symposium kind of stuff. To me, it was kind of a non-news, like it was stuff that the market really already knew. I don't think there's any surprises that I'm aware of out of that. But significant rally on that, back up to all-time highs. So we'll get into the analysis here in just a minute. Good morning, Jorge. Welcome. Welcome in. Get into the game plan here in a moment, share the analysis. Let me try to flip my screen around here on Instagram if I can. See if that's a little better. So you guys can kind of see what I'm talking through here. Again, for those of you guys tuning in on Instagram, I just recommend joining in on YouTube. I will keep it up here for a bit, but the link is in my story on Instagram, and you can see my screen share and everything on YouTube. Good morning, Lewis, Richard, Lucy. Good morning. Welcome, guys. How's everybody this weekend? Everybody have a good weekend? Morning, Lorenzo. What am I cooking up? You said a couple weeks ago that you're working on something for us. Yep, I'm working on something. We'll get into that later this week. But I'm going to be doing more live streams this week, so keep tuning in. Keep tuning in. Welcome in, Chi. Good weekend. Good. So jump into the analysis a little bit, and then I'll circle back for any questions. Ness, let's go. Good morning. So first thing that I'm watching this morning is, the first thing that I look at every morning, especially on Monday, is just kind of circle through the higher time frames. So looking at the daily chart, you can see we've held this higher low trend line on 4 times now since it started 1, 2, and then 2 more times. We can kind of consolidate it down here at it a bit. Let me zoom in on this area. Consolidated down here at it a bit, broke under it, and then on this daily candle immediately recaptured, double bottomed off this old level over here as well. And where was that level from? Must have got that from an older weekly level. Anyway, doesn't matter. Yeah, so you can see how well this trend line has been respected twice, 3 times, 4 times, consolidated here. And this is classic fake out under it and then double bottomed off this support level, and rallied extremely long and hard on Friday. Good morning, Clayton. Welcome in. So we have this area of kind of supply that formed the selling, and going into this large rally, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight days closed red, basically. It's one flat day. But since the last all-time high touch, we had pretty much 5 straight sell-off days. I wouldn't say any of the sell-off days seemed like particularly like extremely strong. It was just like kind of steady, constant selling. But you can see as soon as we kind of swept under these lows, came to this first area that buyers really should support, this trend line, this area here, which was this prior consolidation highs, kind of the first significant area that I was watching that bulls should support. We touched it and absolutely rocketed. But this kind of sets up an interesting dynamic today. Because sellers were pretty much not factored in at all day on Friday. It was just a complete steamroll. It makes it a little bit tricky because there wasn't a whole lot of kind of support built into this on this rally. And the first kind of area that we came to up here, we kind of see all these little swing highs that kind of wicked out. We swept over those back up into this area of supply. Call this an area of supply, where sellers kind of initiated this drop after the last all-time high touch. We came up into there. Maybe it'd be better if I make this a kind of a zone. I'll just mark it from here. There. So this is kind of zone up here is this area where on the 4-hour time frame, where sellers kind of initiated this large 5-day sell-off after the last all-time high touch. We tested that, and since testing that, if we drop down to the hourly time frame, we can see really all of this move was after 10 a.m. I think that was when Jerome Powell was speaking. Welcome in, Joe. Thanks. Yes, so pretty much all of this move was just that first hour when Powell was speaking. And then since then, we tested this zone and really just kind of went flat all afternoon from 11 until the close. And then overnight, we've kind of sold off since then. So this is kind of interesting because it's, in my opinion, forming a little bit of resistance under now after testing this area. So this is kind of the first thing that I'm watching this morning. This kind of sets up what I'm talking about. So let me drop down to the 15-minute time frame. You can see, let me switch over to my other drawing set actually. Don't leave that. Leave that up, but I don't want it over here. This is an area that could get supported as well. So I'm watching that, but so far, I kind of remove this too now. So far, we held this consolidation area under this area of supply. You can see I have it marked here at 64.90, but you can call it from 64.90 all the way up to kind of like 6,500. If we got all the way back up to all-time highs, I wouldn't be shorting that. But you can see after that large rally, we kind of resisted this area once, twice, 3 times. And actually, now that I'm looking at it on the hourly time frame, lower highs on each test up there. We kind of gapped up there into it on the open last night, rejected, and then overnight again, still lower highs. And then if we start it here, lower highs. So you can see we're like consistently making lower and lower highs after testing this area of supply. And like I said, with the context being that we didn't really build in a ton of demand support on this really large news rally up, it kind of sets up for potentially a sharp, quick drop back down into this range. So a couple things that I'm watching for this morning, and I'll kind of mark out this range. So if we look at these lows here from Friday afternoon, this is where buyer supported here, here, here. So 3 times we supported here. And then we dipped under this overnight to the 70s. We kind of tried to double bottom off of it and then kind of rejected. So I'm watching this as kind of an overnight low area, kind of a key low, just a key support resistance level. And then I'm watching this kind of swing high that rejected here. So you can see drop down, tried to rally, rejected, made a lower high. So this kind of range right here is interesting to me. As long as we hold under it this morning. I'm kind of watching this to see what happens. If we get a pop into here this morning and I see significant absorption and selling, I may be open to taking that short, just targeting a quick drop back into maybe the 64.50 level. And if sellers are really aggressive, then back towards the 60.40.31 level. I'm not looking to be bearish on a very long time frame. It would just be, you know, quick, fast, kind of counter trend retracement. If I don't see an entry for that, and sorry, let me step back. Another confluence for that being looking at the volume profile. You can see on this move, we left this area of significant low volume, and then just spent all day consolidating and building volume up here. So there wasn't, like, typically on a really strong trending day, you'll see kind of a volume profile that goes more like this. Let me see. So on a stronger trending day, I would kind of see more volume kind of built along the way, and price is kind of building in support areas. But really, sellers were not factored in at all. And we just blasted on news, and we kind of left this whole area here with not much volume. So if sellers reject up here at this area here, if I see sellers continuing to reject this area here, which formed this consolidation, now that we're under it, if we reject there, there's really not much volume to support price if it drops back down. So if it drops back down, we could quickly drop back toward, let me do this in a different color as a target. We could probably quickly drop back down towards this area where there was more volume built up, if that makes sense. Down there. Now, if I don't see an entry for this and we do get a drop back into here, then I will be looking to see if the other scenario would be if we do drop back down here and I don't see an entry to take it long, or sorry, short, then I will be kind of looking at the same area that I would be looking to target to see if volume kind of builds up and then supports that and rallies back up to the highs. That would be kind of scenario 1 and scenario 2 that I'm watching this morning. Does that make sense? Does this help? Do you guys like the just kind of snipping the screen and then kind of drawing it out for the morning game plan? Help like visualize what I'm talking about a little bit. The morning sprints were brutal, Ryan. Thanks for checking in. Yeah, let me know if you guys like this. Kind of just snip the screen and draw out what I'm talking about a little bit. Okay, cool. So that's kind of like 1 and 2 things that I'm watching. And I like doing it with this candle chart with the volume profile, so you can see a little bit more information about what I'm talking about rather than just a candle chart alone doesn't translate as much. So kind of level 1 of information, we're just kind of looking at the patterns that form on a candle chart. Level 2 of information is I'm looking at kind of like the volume profile of like where buyers and sellers are factored in the auction. And then kind of like level 3 of information, I'm looking at like Bookmap and the footprint chart of like real-time orders on the tape as it comes in. And looking kind of for all 3 of those things to have confluence. It certainly could be a choppy day. If we drop down, if we just kind of continue in this range, that's another thing to watch out for. If we don't have much volatility and buyers are exhausted, sellers are exhausted, everybody's just kind of burnt out after this fiasco yesterday, Friday, last trading day, then we certainly could. And I'm going to certainly be gauging the volatility in the first hour to kind of see if volatility is just super dead and it's just super choppy in the first hour, then I'll probably just say, come back another day this week, AKA tomorrow and every other day. Yeah, 64.70. This also lines up. 71 was, I removed it now from my chart, but I had a key level at 64.70 from earlier last week. I saw a lot of significant volume orders transacting. I think it was this day on this sell-off. What day was this? The 19th. I previously had that 64.70 level marked because it was a key level from the order flow. You can go back and test it if you want, but I just saw a lot of significant volume or size orders transacting there. But I did kind of remove it because we went through it and over and blah, blah, blah. So once we kind of go up and down through a level too many times, I just get rid of it. But it is interesting. I remember that. And it's interesting that kind of lines up with this kind of session high and low right here that I'm watching. Yeah, so I didn't extend this zone over, but this was a zone that I was watching here where these sellers were. So I am kind of keeping this in the back of my mind. Ishan mentioned possibly watching this area to get supported and then target back up into the 70s, maybe the 80s. Yes, I'm watching out for that as well. However, in the most recent price action that transacted here, yeah, we broke and retested and held above it, but it's not super significant, but I will keep it in mind. And I am not totally against that setup. I'm not totally against that setup for a kind of a drop that holds in this range here. And then rally back up into the highs. That's possible. It just seems a little bit unlikely or lower quality just because we rallied this whole dang way so far. And then we really, like, this is a lot of consolidation and rejection from sellers up here kind of holding. So in the short term, I think I would probably look for a little bit deeper pullback than right here. Unless I see like significant stuff on the order flow that would change my mind, which is possible. So I still have it up. It's over here just to kind of keep in the back of my mind, but I'm not extending it over here. So it's like, that's kind of maybe a B setup. The A setups that I was watching this morning are these ones that I just talked about. I guess location makes it just kind of a B setup. All right, for those of you on Instagram, hopefully you caught some of that. I recommend joining in on the live stream on YouTube. That's where we have the chat going. That's where I'm sharing my screens. So if you're on this stream on Instagram, check out the link in my story and come over and join us on YouTube. I'm going to end the stream here on Instagram, but I will be staying on this morning on YouTube. So recommend following that link over there in the story. Like Emmett said, it's just a better platform and everything. And I like to manage just one stream. So join in on YouTube if you'd like. Like I said, we have the text chat there so I can communicate with you guys better. And we also have screen share and stuff going on there. So piece on Instagram. The volume profile is just something with Sierra chart. That's just a 30-minute chart with a volume profile indicator. Or I don't know if I'd call it an indicator, but it's just a volume profile. I don't have to record that data. It just gives it to me for like the past so many days. All right, let me switch the screen over to Bookmap here. There we go. Yeah, no problem, Jasmine. So we did see some bids appear down here this morning in the pre-market that are holding so far. But like I said, just not quite significant enough just yet for me to probably think about taking that long, although it's certainly a setup that could work. Hey, good morning, Paher71. Hopefully I said your name right. Not sure. This out of the way. So that's the game plan. Going to be kind of patient here this morning. I'm not going to be too crazy jumping into anything. Hopefully that makes sense. Joel Portillo asked, do I ever trade before the open? I used to trade more pre-market when I had another job and I was trading. And I could, again, I could probably look to trade like between like 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. if I had a job or something else to do during the day. Because there are setups that form. There's just not as many setups and there's not as much volume and volatility. So right now, no, I don't trade there at all. I just trade after 9:30. Really the first morning session between like 9:30 and 11 when I do these streams. Very rarely, if at all, now will I trade into the afternoon. I did watch price action and order flow into the afternoon for many years to get that screen time and experience, but now I'm at a place where I kind of have consistent setups that I look for. The time equation and risk of like making mistakes increases if you push yourself into the afternoon, especially if you don't take any breaks and you're just like watching the screens and clicking buttons all day. So focused on really kind of taking fewer trades and really A+ trades only, and really just kind of focusing on that first hour and a half. And if nothing sets up and develops good, then just kind of calling it a day and enjoying my time freedom. Yeah, I always like to lower size in drawdowns, Joe. Just kind of get rid of emotions, get some small wins under your belt, and kind of stack up some confidence. It's hard when you're lacking confidence and you're in drawdown. Even for me, I still go through periods where I have several losing days in a row, and it's like, man, what am I doing? Are my setups even working anymore? Am I just not reading things correctly at all? Like, sometimes not sometimes, it always helps to size down, kind of minimize emotions, just kind of really focus on the process of good trading, and kind of figuring out what's going wrong. Is your analysis off? Are you just getting the wrong direction? Are you just mistiming trades? That if you're just mistiming trades, then maybe you're like a little too eager to get into trades. Maybe you're not waiting for good levels and good confirmations, etc. I don't know. There's quite a variety of things, and it's really just comes down to like knowing your data, knowing yourself. So yeah, it's always good to size down and have kind of a clear-eyed, objective view, and just kind of get some small wins rolling your way can really go a long ways just to help with your mindset and everything. And then you can kind of stack those into some bigger wins and gradually build size back if you're at a consistent level with your trading. So a lot of buying right off the open there that kind of got shut down a little bit. Right in the last couple minutes here, right around 70, we're seeing 400 lots and then 200 lots of aggressive selling. So see if we get a little pop back into that, and I'll be interested in watching that. It was a little fast for me to jump in a short right there in the first few seconds, but it did look good there. That sweep above 70 that failed, if you guys remember, that's that area, the bottom of that area that I was talking about right here. We just swept into it off the open and then kind of rejected with some absorption and selling right there. So that may have been the setup, but it was tough for me to take it like in the first minute there. We'll see if this pop fails here, and if it does, then that may be telling. Nice bit of selling right there. that's kind of some weird activity right there. How that heat map, you could see that bid just kind of appearing and following price up. That was kind of algorithmic, kind of weird. See this offer appearing here at 69s. See if that got filled. Interestingly, that's right here where we saw that price action off the open, that 200 lots and then 400 lots. And that offer just reappeared here at 69 again. Looks like it's reappearing here again at 69.70 right here. It's kind of interesting. $200 lots of aggressive selling hit right there at 69. Ishan caught longs there at 64 is nice. Good little plan. Good little plan. I'm still watching this and kind of letting it develop. It's kind of down and up, down and up. I'm not seeing too much significant orders at a really key spot just yet. So kind of watch this rally back up into this range here. If get up over 75 to 82-ish area, see what happens up there. Very nice, Ishan. Very tight risk. I don't like chasing this here long. There's just kind of a lot of offers popping up. There was some kind of weird activity down here. A bid just kind of appearing and kind of following price up. But then as we came up here, there's kind of a lot of offers appearing and filling. So yeah, kind of weird, kind of tricky right here. There's kind of a lot of resistance directly above price up here. So it would be tough for me to chase longs, especially after that extended move Friday right into this area where price was resisting. So I'm first kind of looking for signs of large absorption and resistance from sellers. We are seeing this 500 lot negative delta now built here at 70s. And there's some larger offers up here still. 100 lots, not too large, but a lot of selling here, driving it back down. I think it's a little choppy at the moment and hard to get a little kind of a good read right at the current moment. But I definitely kind of am first looking at selling opportunities here, especially as long as kind of pops reject under kind of the 75 to 82 area. I just don't see, like, look at the DOM here. I don't see any like significant volume other than the 70 right here. There's kind of almost 600 lots built up there. There's just nothing like too standoutish. And it's the first couple minutes on a Monday morning. So I'm a little, yeah. And we have home sales news at 10 a.m. So keep that in mind as well. You can see the session volume profile here, just kind of building up around 70. If you look at like from 2 a.m. until the pre-market up till like 9 a.m., we're kind of just in the middle of that range. Nice, Ishan. So this is kind of the third test at these highs up here near 70s, 70 and above. 1, 2, 3, and each time offers appearing and kind of rejecting. I don't see any large volume built at really any specific price other than the 70 here. There's almost 700 lots of positive delta now. Sellers, yeah, sellers aren't really heavy coming in, just kind of just dwindling down. But it's like larger offer appears where these aggressive buyers are, and then it price quickly drops back down. So we'll kind of see how this forms here. Again, it's hard for me to look to long up here, up right at an area of resistance where we spent all afternoon Friday consolidating, and now we're under that. And there's just a large area under us where price could quickly drop through. So just from a risk versus reward perspective right here, longs don't look as good. Kind of some heavier selling coming in now. Yeah, we kind of drop down here and look at all these bids appearing as we drop down here and getting filled. And then we pop up here and there's lots of offers appearing, getting filled. So we're just kind of ping-ponging in this area. When we get to these highs, some offers appear. When we get to these lows, some bids appear, and both are filling. So we can just clearly see how price is just kind of playing ping pong here. I don't think these bids were here a second ago, and price dropped down. They all started stocking up, like people wanting to get long here. And then we pop up here and lots of offers start appearing, selling it. So we're just continuing to ping pong in this range right here. We're just kind of ping-ponging in this range, but just from a little bit higher time frame, the risk versus reward of being a buyer doesn't look as good up here. Yeah, sellers are kind of taking control here with some heavier selling. I want to get in short this, but I'm also like not wanting to get chopped up because this is going up and down ping-ponging so much. And we have news coming out in 13 minutes. So it's a little tricky. If we found a pop to get short, probably be targeting like the 53s first. Target a break of the low under the 53s, and then just seeing how far we drop under that before price slows down. If we break under the 60s, ideally we'd get an entry up here nearer the 70 if something good develops to get in it. And then kind of a first point would be around 52, 53, and then just see how fast and heavy it drops if this happens, if it drops under that. And I'd probably just scale out when it slows down after it breaks under like 53. I have an old level there, and it's kind of just the middle of that low volume area. It's not the middle, it's like the upper portion of that low volume area from Friday where price kind of rallied and left a large area of low volume. So ideally, I would find a way to be positioned in shorts before that. And then if that happens, then I'm already capitalizing on the drop into that area. And if buyers want to support that drop into that low volume area from Friday, then I'll just be taking profit into them. But it's still very up and down ping-pongy here, and we have data coming out in 10 minutes. So hopefully we don't get a crazy move before the news that I would just miss out on probably. We'll see how this kind of develops here. But with price playing so much ping pong in here and news coming out in 10 minutes, it makes it a little tricky for me to take a trade right now. So if it just dumps out of nowhere and drops down to the target, then that would just be unfortunate, and I'm just going to miss the trade. But you can see on the volume profile, see how we have a tail up here, a tail down here, and price is just kind of building in here. We're just kind of chopping up and down in this little kind of mini balance range for this opening 15 minutes or so, 30 minutes. Sorry, guys. So, my opinion, important to sit on our hands here at the present moment. But I do like how sellers are rejecting each quick pop up here, and yeah, we are buying up here too. So you could argue the point either way here, because we are just kind of ping-ponging in this range. However, I think the risk versus reward is favoring the sellers right here in the short term. So if from a probabilities win rate perspective, it's equal either way, but risk versus reward opportunity is significantly higher on one side, then that's probably the side that I'm looking at. But you can see each time we drop down here, see how this bid just appeared and price shot up, and then each time we pop up here, offers appear and price drops back down. So you don't want to be playing in the middle for sure. It's a good way to get wrecked. Good morning, Jose. Good morning, Anthony. Jasmine, that's basically just talking about on like a footprint chart, an area where volume kind of builds and then moves out of it aggressively, leaving kind of like a lower volume tail. We can see kind of the same things develop here, just with it, when an area of volume kind of builds up and price doesn't keep moving down and then it shoots up the other way. See how we dropped down here and all this selling volume built up, didn't move price any lower than this low day, double bottomed, and then bounced aggressively out of it right here. Kind of the same concept. Right there. Kind of the same concept. And then we've dipped down in here and it's held higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. Makes sense, Jasmine? Cool. Get rid of that. All right, give me a couple seconds, guys. I'm going to take a step away before the news comes out. Be right back in like 1 minute. All right, so nothing's changed. Popping back up towards the highs. Less than a minute till that news. Some significant buying came in around the 69s here after trapping some sellers at the lows. So I'm looking at, there was 258 lots of sellers that came in at 240.6675. Then some aggressive buying lot came in, a couple hundred lots around 68, a couple hundred lots around 69. So looking at the DOM here, this is where you can see that selling came in and then more aggressive buying came in after. So a lot of buying came in. Quick pop back up into those highs, still rejecting that area. These offers filled. So let's see what happens here. The news is in. Yeah, Joe, my DOM resets at 9:30. So I like this heavy selling coming in here. I like this pop and then this heavy selling. Let's see if we get another little retest into here that offers a good entry opportunity. More significant buying came in on that high break here. That went nowhere. So just a lot of buying, just kind of zooming out here. Look at all, just buying. And we just haven't really broken out any higher. We had this nice pop here up into 76s that rejected quickly back down, but all above 70 and even here just at VWAP, just a lot of buying. You can see there's a lot more buying than there is aggressive selling. Just looking at the cumulative volume delta, 2,000 or 3,000 lots more aggressive buying here, 88 versus 86,000 right now. So there's about 2,000 lots more of aggressive buying so far since the open than there is selling. And we really haven't made much of any new high. So that is very interesting. Still a lot of buying coming in, just a lot of buying. There's now 300 lots stacked up here at 71s. You can see something is going on here right around 71s. You can see all this buying stacking up right here. bid is appearing right here. That's interesting. Interesting to see that bid come in and then get hit with a lot of selling into it right there. Right at that same area where we're seeing all that volume built up from buyers. Now it's kind of reappearing here. Some aggressive selling coming in there. See if it has any legs after all this buying kind of hit here. If not, then we may continue to just chop in this range, or buyers may continue to just kind of grind higher. There's still just a lot of buying coming in. So I only use the TM Lite add-on if I'm seeing like a lot of annoying bracket orders that are not filling, and it's just kind of like spoofing. I haven't been seeing that, so I haven't been using that. Pretty low volatility overall. We're just kind of grinding in this range now between 64 and 74. So kind of like a 10-ish point range that we're just kind of grinding in. Yeah, look, I mean, there's just a lot of buying up here. I mean, we are kind of squeaking out like new highs, just a couple points higher each time. And sellers are trying to kind of reject it, but I think there's just not enough people that want to sell, it seems like, which makes sense after such a crazy move. kind of how I'm reading this is a little bit of that scenario we talked about, just kind of a bit of exhaustion from both sides. Yeah, we do have Labor Day next week as well. It kind of seems like we may have a bit of just kind of exhaustion on both sides. Seems like nobody really wants to stick their head out to be a buyer above the highs or a seller below the lows. Delta on the footprint chart has been fairly lackluster. I'm not seeing a whole lot of significant anything. Yeah, exactly. Just kind of buyers are kind of sustaining, but not really enough to drive another day like we had Friday for sure. Yeah. And sellers are probably and rightfully kind of wary to stick their necks out there in front of the kind of move that we had Friday until some kind of catalyst triggers some fear and panic. Because you got to think, like, you can see great confirmations to take the market short, but there's got to be good reason for a lot of people to take the market short after you to drive price lower. So I'm seeing some exhaustion from buyers and kind of failing, like on this pop here, and then all this large buying here, which could fail soon and kind of trigger that sharp drop back down into that range that I talked about. But the problem is that kind of need to see better confirmation for it to really believe there's good reason that a lot of people will want to sell the market after my entry, which will drive price lower. Another way of saying that is like have to see one side getting put in pain. And if we drop under these lows, then I think buyers could become offsides quickly. And all of those buyers late from yesterday will quickly become sellers. Here's some heavier selling coming in, some offer appearing there. I really want to be a seller. I like this buying here. I like pretty much all of that buying there being absorbed. If we can see some aggression from sellers and then like a lower volume weak pop back into here, I'm kind of liking that. And it's still holding under that zone that I talked about. Now there's some got a hair in my mouth. Now there's some selling coming in. Sorry, guys. Now there's some selling coming in. Let's see if we get a pop back into here. It's a little tricky because we are kind of holding higher lows. It's a little bit preemptive, but I like all this significant buying kind of failing up here. And then that kind of aggressive selling coming in. You can see all this aggressive buying here that really didn't drive price any higher. And now we're starting to see this more aggressive selling coming in. So if we see this little pop back up here, get hit with a lot of more aggressive selling, then that might be something of interest. Let's see if this pop fails right here. I like all this aggressive buying that failed, and this buying on this pop up here looks a little bit weaker, but it's a little tricky. I like how this offer is appearing here at the 72s too. Also, yeah, I like how this offer is appearing right here. Yeah, I'm going to take a stab at this short here at the 72s with a very tight stop just over 74s. Just the risk is very low, and I like how we had all of this aggressive buying here, and then we popped back into here with weaker buying, and I'm seeing offers appearing here. And again, it's right in that zone that I talked about being wary of, and it would just be targeting a quick drop back towards the low day under the 6460s. If we can get 10 to 15 point drop after all of this aggressive buying failed up here, but this is kind of counter trend and lower probability, so I'm possibly going to eat a small loss here, but the reward is potentially 10 to 15 points, and the risk is like barely 2 points. So I might have been a little premature there. But I like this selling on this drop seemed a little more aggressive, a little heavier than what we've seen so far this morning. And with the context of all of this large buying, like this is clearly the largest buying of the day in this area here. I already drew a rectangle around it. Right in that rectangle, it's clearly like the most aggressive buying so far today that went over these highs on that news and didn't really continue any higher. And then in fact, this aggressive selling came in right after. And then this buying up into here was weaker on this retest. So the confirmation looks decent. I would say the quality is kind of B, just because we are kind of making higher lows. Up higher time frame is bullish, so there's a very good chance I eat a little loss here, but reward is potentially high. I do both. I usually market order entry and then set limits for my stops and targets, but sometimes I'll limit order into it. And I like how we have this. I'm seeing a lot of positive delta stacked up here at 70, 72, 71, 75, 72.50, and then up at those highs, 74.50. So like within this 2 point range, I'm seeing multiple 300 lot, 200 lot, 200 lot positive deltas, and price really didn't move any higher, which to me indicates a passive seller being there. It's really kind of balancing on a knife blade here though, and it could go either way. Yeah, it could really kind of go either way here. The confirmations were good and the risk versus reward was high. So I said, okay, let's do it. There's some aggressive selling coming in now. Look at that. So I wouldn't want to see this selling fail. So I may go break even with my risk. Again, I'm in at the 72. I'm in at 72 on the dot. So I'm going to probably pull my stop loss break even here because this is the aggressive selling coming in that I was looking for. I don't really want to see this fail. And if it does, then I may just be wrong. Wow, just shot right back up. I'm still holding it, but I'm moving my stop loss to break even. This is the aggressive selling I wanted to see hit this bid. And if we shoot back through, then there's nothing stopping me from re-entering a better entry if we shoot back above 72. But this was, so after seeing this weak buying in this zone, look, okay, this was my confirmation. We saw all this buying fail, then we saw aggressive selling. Then I'm seeing all this weak buying here. I got in at 72. That's an excellent, excellent entry. My stop loss was just over this high here, over 74. So like 2 points. Now all this aggressive selling came in and dipped under this prior low. So this is what I was looking to see happen. It's happening. Now, if it comes all the way back up to my entry, then I may just be wrong. And we got a little dip off of it and I'm up, 4 or 5 points. And that may be all. But my target for my trade idea is really to go break the lows under the 60s. Yeah. I set a hard stop. So if it comes up there, it's taking me out. It came all the way up to like 71.50, 2 ticks away, and dropped back down. But you see what I'm saying here? Like, if we make another higher low here, then I'm just wrong probably on my timing, and I'm just going to get out because we're seeing this heavier selling come in after my entry. I mean, we're still seeing this weak buying on pops, but if there's just not enough selling to take price down to my target, then if we come back up to the 72s now, I don't see much stopping us from going back to these highs again. So there's not really any more reason for me to hold my original stop loss because we already are getting the selling coming in after my entry. It's just going to be unfortunate and kind of annoying. Going up 5 points in profit on a 2-point risk and then potentially getting stopped break even any second now. But again, my probability assessment was lower on the trade. I accepted that the probability was lower, but the reward was very high, being like potentially 10, 15 points. And so, 15 points on a 2-point risk is, 7, 8 R trade. So it was worth it. If this sweeps out over my entry, then I may look to take a re-entry if I see valid confirmations. But I don't like how we already dipped down here with all this aggressive selling and then immediately shot back up to my entry after dropping 5, 6 points. I think I was up 5 points. So it was already a 2.5 R trade. I'm not really going to let that go red if the drop fails now. But this is what happens a lot with shorts. It can be, in my experience, over the last year and a half, the market conditions we've had over the last year and a half have made taking shorts very difficult for me because so many times we start to drop, nope, back up, start to drop, nope, back up. And then we do that like multiple times before the drop eventually comes. So it is better to probably hold a wider stop loss with a smaller size for those, but it's just, that's not, I don't love trading like that. And it's a little tricky, but you can see, look at the size. Is there a buyer at VWAP? Look at this VWAP. But you can see, look at the size of selling on that little dip under VWAP there. And then the weaker buying on these pops. So this is where I got my entry. And then if we kind of fake out under VWAP here and just keep popping back up, I'm not going to hold this for a loss. I like how that offer appeared there, but again, there's just no follow through on the selling yet. So I may just be mistimed if we shoot back up past the 72s. If you're long or whatever, like don't lose hope in your trade. Trust your own analysis and follow your own plan always. Don't copy me. I'm just sharing this for entertainment purposes and education purposes. Don't try to copy me. Don't let me change your trade idea. This could still, like, I could 1000% be wrong on this trade and come take a break even now. This is just how I'm reading the market from up here. Like the risk versus reward just looked better to be a seller right here for this opportunity, even though the probability looked low, and it still looks low. So if you're in long, like don't, by all means, don't, there we go. I'm out, break even. Just hit me to the tick. Literally hit 72s to the tick. Only 12 lots got filled there. But I had a hard order set break even because I didn't want to come sweep past me and take me out. Yeah, I mean, I was already up 5 points, like dropped down to 67. So I was already up 5 points on a 2-point risk scalp. Not really interested in taking an L on that. And the thing was, on this drop, this is what I was looking for, was this drop. And we got all this heavy selling on this drop and just shot right back up. So I mean, the first hour is in now, and we're still just barcoding in this range, guys. So I think it was totally valid to be very defensive there and take it off break even after seeing this aggressive selling. It just sucks if it came up and stopped me out to like the tick there, and it went like 2 ticks past my entry. And if it drops now, it's just going to be a little frustrating. Oh yeah. Wow. I was looking at the 15-minute and the 2-minute, which also looked ugly, but the 5-minute looks really ugly. Literally just balancing on a knife. The edge of the knife being the 70 level. The edge of the knife being the 70, 71 level, and price is just kind of balancing on it. And I was in just above there at the 72s because I liked all this aggressive buying up here on this last push. See how this is not really significant, not really significant. And then after the news, or leading up to the news, and then after the news, this significant buying up here was more significant to me, and that failed. And then we dropped back under it. Maybe I should have just continued to hold my stop loss over 74s up here. Maybe I should have. But the way I was reading this, I would have continued to hold my stop loss break even. But when I saw all this aggressive selling come in here, like just look at the size of this selling on this drop. That's when I was like, okay, either we're going to drop or we're not. And unfortunately, we did not drop. we came all the way back up here and swept me out by a couple ticks, and now it's dropping back down. This is the kind of thing that just makes you want to smash your screen. It's not going to stay in this range forever, but how much longer am I going to be patient to kind of spend the whole day watching it before it happens? Again, I still like how this weaker buying is just halting right up here in this zone where I got my entry, but it's just so choppy, it's hard. And if I wait for strong selling like we saw here, then my risk becomes way larger. So it's just tricky all around. It was a low probability trade, and I was very tight with the risk. I was up 2.5 R, about 5 points. So break even was kind of warranted in my opinion. We saw a lot of substantial selling coming in. And when I see that after my entry, 9 times out of 10, either I'm right or I'm wrong. And if we don't break on that, then there's a good chance we're going to come back up to those 74s. Yeah, my stop loss was, so my trade thesis was we saw all this aggressive buying up here fail to move the market higher. We sold back down with pretty aggressive selling, and then we popped back up here with weaker buying. On all this weaker buying, I took it short at the 72s, and my stop loss was just kind of just above these 74s where all this aggressive buying was trapped. And then we started to drop. We broke this low with all this aggressive selling. I was up like 5+ points. And I said, okay, either I'm right or I'm wrong. So let me pull because my stop loss was up here at the 72s, all the way up here. And unfortunately, it got me out with a couple ticks. But the way I was reading that was if all this selling came in, which is what I was speculating I would see, and I did see, then we should continue lower, and we didn't. We bounced back up, so it wasn't worth continuing to hold the risk. I was right on my entry. I just wasn't right for long enough to go down and hit my target. But you can see, based on that analysis, look at all this heavy selling that came in and tried after my entry up here. So that was great. That was what I wanted to see happen. It just didn't continue. Yeah, I'm saying the 5 minutes ugly because it's just super wicky. Look at it, just wick. That just means it's just very lacking continuation either way. It's popping, dropping, popping, and it's not conducive to providing great trade setups unless you're like a high frequency trading algorithm. Yeah, I'm still watching it. If we pop back up here again, I'm not wanting to get chopped up in the middle here anymore. So my entry at 72s looked great. We had the selling come in. Great. It just didn't continue. And now we popped back up. Not good. And now we're just continuing to chop here. So if we pop back into these highs and I see it fail again, then maybe I'll watch it for a reentry. But it was already kind of a B quality setup, and now it's kind of degrading to like a C quality setup. And I don't really like to trade C quality setups. You know what I mean? it was not an A+ setup to begin with. It was kind of a B setup, but the risk versus reward ratio is very high. So I said, okay, let me take the trade. I also sized down too, just because it was a B quality setup. But now, after it's continuing to just chop and kind of screw around in this area, it's kind of degrading from a B quality setup to a C quality setup. So yeah, it could still happen. It's just hard to be a part of it without getting chopped up. And do I want to risk getting chopped up a bunch of times before I'm able to catch it? Does that make sense? Yeah, I mean, my entry at 72 is great. I mean, we're still seeing a lot of resistance here. It just doesn't seem significant enough to stop another pop up to the 74s potentially. So that was why I took it off break even. Yeah, you just there's two aspects to this. There's the actual physical capital. You don't want to risk getting chopped up with a bunch of small losses on this crap. And then the other aspect is like just your mental capital. You don't want to exert all your mental energy on this choppiness and then not be like mentally ready to handle when volatility increases and we get out of this range and a great opportunity sets up, but you're so mentally fried from exerting yourself on this and you've taken a bunch of small losses that now you miss a great opportunity. So for me, I'm kind of at the point where it's like, I don't really want to exert any more mental or physical capital on this. Hey, Ricky. Yeah, I shorted the 72s. It went 5 points in my direction down here, and then I stopped out break even on this pop back up. I liked this aggressive buying that failed. We dropped. I got an entry here at the 72s. I was up 5 points. It came back break even on me. That's it. I do have Bookmap set up to trade with one of my accounts. My Trade Evade account, I think I can send orders to. But no, I don't execute my trades on there. I just don't see a great opportunity to get long here as far as like what I would be targeting and risk versus reward. And I also don't see a great opportunity to short. This was the best opportunity from what I saw. And my original stop loss is still not hit. And the idea is still valid. It's just the conditions around it are making it not ideal and not making me want to get back in the trade. I do think there's still a solid chance we're going to drop back down towards the low a day, back under 60s into the 50s and stuff. But will I see a good opportunity to get an entry and be a part of it? I don't know. So we still only came like 1.5 over my original entry, and we're dropping back down under the 70s with heavier selling now. But again, just looking at that 5-minute, we're just playing ping pong, and the range is getting narrower. See what I mean? Yeah, point of control is there kind of around 70. There's a lot of volume built up there. Just looking at the volume profile, very balanced, choppy, up and down around 70. It was also an old key level for me where there was a lot of large significant orders last week around that 70 level as well. So it was a key level from the order flow for me. And now we're just kind of barcoding around it basically for the first hour plus today. Lots of heavy selling coming in here now, so it could drop, and it's just unfortunate that I just got chopped out of it before this drop. And just because of how much we've chopped up and down and bounced, I'm a little hesitant to kind of trade it like a break and retest under here, just because we've been chopping up and down. But we can see how much heavy selling is coming in here now. We never really got above my original stop loss though, so that's took myself out of that trade, and we never really came up to my original stop loss. But I mean, a lot of times that saves me from just kind of eating unnecessary losses when I've mistimed the trade. No, the version of Bookmap on Thinkorswim is like kind of integrated in Thinkorswim, and it's kind of like a light version. So you get this whole heat map and everything, but it's not got as many add-ons and full features as the actual like standalone Bookmap application. But I did use that for a long time, and it was good, and I think a less expensive way if you're just starting out to use that integrated Bookmap on Thinkorswim. So I haven't used it in years, many years, but back when I did use it, it was good, and a good, I think, less expensive option to get started with Bookmap, especially if you're already a Thinkorswim user for charts. Yeah, I mean, I want to find another short here because I still have conviction that we're going to go break these 60s into the 50s, at least the 64 50s. So I think a 10, 15 point drop is still brewing, but I just don't I had a great entry for it, and I, kind of got chopped out of it. There's a lot of heavy selling coming in now. So let's see, maybe if this heavy selling comes in and we get a nice little bounce, that's a good entry. Maybe I'll think about it. But man, is it just kind of wicky. Yeah, sorry, hear my dog whining. My wife and kids just got home from the store, so she's all yapping. Oh, one of those days. We're kind of under VWAP now. Well, we've dipped under, see this kind of this VWAP level here? You can see we've dipped under it once, got bought twice, 3, 4, 5 times. So every time we've dipped under VWAP, it's shot back up quickly. Every time we see a heavy bit of selling under VWAP, it's quickly shot up and recaptured. So that might be an interesting tell, is if we actually hold under VWAP on a bounce this time. Say if we break under VWAP now and there's not enough buying anymore to strongly hold above it, then that might be kind of a tell that the tide is kind of shifting out of this balance range. But it's tough to say. What are you guys trading? What are you guys watching? Let me know. Let me know in the chat if you guys caught anything or if you're just kind of sitting cash today. I'm watching the chat, so let me know. Curious to see what everybody's doing. This looks like since 9:30, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th time we've dipped under VWAP with heavy selling and shot back up. Still in long from 72s. No trade, cash. Not a big Monday fan. Yeah, me neither. Watching the S&P. Short off 73, but wanted to target 63, but about to get stopped out for break even. Welcome to the club. Break even club today on that choppiness. It was a good opportunity. It was a good opportunity. We saw the weaker buying up here. And this is kind of a little bit invalid now. Look at all this large buying back up in here now. What I wanted to see was where all this large buying was, and then we saw the weaker buying up here. That's where it looked like an opportunity to me. And I assume you too, modern trends. And that looked like a good opportunity to short, but we just lacked the downside continuation. We got the heavy selling coming in. It just clearly there's a passive buyer buying these dips under VWAP, like clear as day. Every large selling dip that's come in under VWAP has just like instantly bounced back up. So it may be a day that there is a buy program around VWAP going on today. Trump is talking. Oh, Well, I wasn't tracking that today. I was not tracking that today. Hey, bud. My 1-year-old is telling me that this is a boring trading day and I need to quit trading today. Do you look at correlations as well with NQ, YM? Yeah, I do look at the other indices and VX as well. Not a ton. I primarily just look at ES. I get most of my information just from analyzing the order flow and overall context there. But I will add in confluences from the others. And actually, I am kind of glancing at the others right now. NQ is having a nice little bounce, a lot less barcodey than ES. NQ is having a nice bounce, and VX is currently just tested the overnight and Friday's lows. So VX is currently testing Friday lows, and NQ is bouncing relatively much stronger since 9:30 than ES. But if NQ rejects this overnight swing high here around 23,568 and VX holds these overnight lows, then we could probably see a much more exaggerated drop on ES since it is relatively weaker. But again, it's just a total barcode and it's difficult to be a part of it. Yeah, I look at low volume nodes and I look at the volume profile stuff as well. Modern trends, yes. Yeah, NQ is stronger today. VX is the futures of the volatility index. So it moves inverse to, like, if ES is going up, VX is going down. And it's based on puts on the SP 500. So it's kind of the fear and volatility index. So if a lot of people are hedging positions on the S&P with puts, then the VX goes up, and that adds pressure on ES. But if nobody's buying puts and everybody is bullish and the market is going up, then VX will be low at the lows, which was what we're seeing today. I mainly pay attention if there is a significant divergence between the indices and VX and see, like, it kind of is a little bit of a leading indicator that maybe, like, bulls are significantly, or one side is potentially significantly offsides if price moves the other way, and that can set up a large reversal with very high risk versus reward opportunity. I mostly look at, like, 5-point ranges, 5 to 10-point ranges intraday, not so much a time period for looking at low volume nodes. And then I also look at, like, just the day volume profile, which is probably the best and most significant low volume nodes. We're continuing to just kind of narrow into these, you see these pennant lines that I drew. A lot of significant buying right there at the highs, rejected back down. A lot of significant selling down here at the lows, bounced back up. Again, just overall location in the market, I just think that there is a continued advantage risk versus reward wise to shorts right now, even though the probability is lower. Got chopped out today. Yeah, man, it's a day that you could easily get chopped out. So I pumped the brakes after that break-even trade for that exact reason. I'm trying to avoid just getting chopped up here until I see something really good. Be very easy. Don't beat yourself up. Just kind of learn from it and learn like what's developed today and take that lesson into the next time we kind of see these things. And yeah, you still want to take a good trade if you see it, but if you're identifying like we are right now that it's just clearly choppy and we're seeing this buying get trapped at the high, selling it trapped at the low, and just kind of ping-ponging, we just want to be a little more patient and defensive and not get chopped. Yeah, I have more content coming about different things that I use in my trading strategy and things like that. What's the maximum size on a 5-point trade on ES Futures? For me, or I'm not sure what you mean. Yeah, stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned. In general, I mean, the size that you trade is completely up to you. I always recommend people just trade as small as possible while they're learning, like one micro contract with money that you can afford to lose. You shouldn't be, doesn't matter how much money you have, there's no reason to make tuition more expensive than it needs to be while you're learning. But to me, it definitely looks like there is a buy program going on around VWAP. Every dip under it with large aggressive selling has immediately bounced higher. And there is also some resistance here around these 70 to 73s because we see all this aggressive buying. So we clearly see, let me clean this up a little bit. We clearly see this area in this box. What in the world? Come on. We clearly see this area resisting pops, like all this aggressive buying in here. And then we clearly see, remove that, clearly just see VWAP. Every dip under it with aggressive selling has quickly recaptured. So seeing clear resistance around 70 to 75, and then a clear buy program being worked on dips under VWAP. And so this was the 74s now. We did just pop over the 74s. So I would have just eaten my stop loss on my original trade and target never hit. And so that is one reason why, after seeing the aggressive selling at the lows fail to get continuation, I moved my stop loss to break even because clearly I was just wrong on the trade idea. Even though I was up over 2R, it wasn't at my target. And I saw it was a red flag for me to see that large selling dip under the low and then shoot back up. So there was no reason for me to hold a loss, and I would have now held a loss on the trade. Jacob, about your question with Bookmap, I don't know, to be honest. It's been years since I used the Thinkorswim Bookmap, and I don't know the answer to that. You'd have to test it yourself. I know Tradeovate data on Bookmap does not show everything as much. I pay for data separately on Bookmap. And if it only shows that like 10 orders at a time or something like that, maybe you don't have the right data plan on Tradeovate. You don't have like the full level 2 or something. I don't know. I had the Tradeovate data connected, but it wasn't as much data for some reason, even though I did have level 2 on Tradeovate. This was years ago, and I switched to just paying for the Rhythmic data on Bookmap. Yeah, there's no DOM. So this DOM here is the DOM Pro feature, and that you need the standalone Bookmap with the Global Plus subscription to use this full DOM. The Thinkorswim integrated one is just this like heat map. Yeah, Texas, you are correct. Kind of seeing this absorption and resistance between this rectangle that I drew up here around 70 to 75, but also there's clearly like a buy program being worked around VWAP where every single dip under VWAP has been absorbed and bounced aggressively. Super balanced volume profile, just a bulge with tails on both sides. You can see this. See how the volume just dwindles at the highs, dwindles at the lows, and we're just kind of building price, building volume around the middle of this range here. Yeah, very ugly session compared to, we had a nice kind of directional like lower highs overnight, and then this morning just very, very choppy around that 70 level. Glad you're here, Blair. Don't overtrade though. I'm pausing, and honestly probably gonna shut it down here, guys. We're an hour and a half in, just kind of continuing to just chop up and down. I just know as soon as I shut down the stream, it's gonna make a nice move and everything. So maybe I should, for everyone's sake, shut it down, and then we'll get a nice move. That's how it works. But all right, guys. Yeah, I think it's time to walk away. Hour and a half in. If we go break out these highs, that's great. I just don't see a great opportunity as far as risk versus reward, as far as targets and everything. There's a lot of resistance up here from yesterday afternoon. So yes, it's working and we are moving. It just, that didn't look as good of quality to me. Yeah, Ishan will be back on tomorrow. Take one for the team. All right. So yeah, I mean, if you're long and if you have a setup, by all means take it. I just didn't really see a good opportunity from risk versus reward and everything else to long, even though there's clearly a buy program being worked around VWAP here. But maybe somebody else does, and I hope you caught it. But it wasn't my first game plan today. If during the regular trading hours, if we dropped down close to that 60s in that zone that I talked about, let me pull this over here. If we dropped down here in this zone after 9:30, then I would have been watching it more. But we did that in the pre-market, and then that wasn't really an entry opportunity for me. And then since then, we've just been very, very choppy. So that wasn't really a setup for me. And I struggle to like initiate a long up here, even though we're like seeing this absorption and bouncing, like just from a risk versus reward, I'm watching like this whole area is to me an area of clear resistance. And so it doesn't look great to me to initiate longs into that. I'd rather just sit back and wait to trade another day. So that's where my head's at right now. But all right, guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for joining in. Appreciate you guys. 9 a.m. tomorrow. See you there. Peace. Oh, and drop a like on the video and share. That helps me out a ton. Appreciate you guys. Peace.